Hi, everybody. Welcome to TradeStation for today's educational webinar. Today, we're going to be talking options with Dynamic Trend. In this featured webinar, we're proud to introduce the Dynamic Trend service, an advanced stocks, options, and futures trading platform with several proprietary features and option-specific studies not available anywhere else. Dynamic Trend offers options traders a sophisticated analytical platform featuring these unique studies. Trading options with Dynamic Trend is the featured speaker is Steve Brumbelow, the product manager of Dynamic Trend, and we're very happy to place them in the spotlight today. After becoming the product manager, of the company back in March 2004, Steve has helped the firm become an industry leader in providing high-end technical analysis applications and solutions to active traders around the world. I'm Don Prattle from TradeStation. So today we are very excited about listening. This is only all the symbols, all the trading ideas that we discuss here are for demonstration purposes. They are not recommendations. This presentation is not an offer or a solicitation of any kind in any jurisdiction where a TradeStation affiliate is not authorized to do business, including but not limited to Hong Kong and Japan. Remember that active trading is not suitable for everyone, and options trading carries a high degree of risk and may not be suitable for all traders. I have posted in the chat panel a couple of pieces of disclosure information regarding the characteristics and risks of standardized options, as well as the other asset classes that we cover here at TradeStation. I urge you to take a look at those documents when you have some time. Now, right about now, folks start to ask or wonder, are we recording? And will this recording be posted someplace? And the answer is true. We are recording. I've got the recorder on, and this presentation will be available on the TradeStation YouTube page sometime tomorrow. Also, you'll be able to find this presentation in the TradeStation University site on our website, and if you are a TradeStation account holder, in VideoStation tomorrow. Now, Dynamic Trend is designed to go from analysis to trade within seconds. Options traders can analyze and model risk, compare strategies, identify volume imbalances and directional bias, repair their existing positions, and enter trades through a built-in TradeStation interface. So that's part of our excitement today. And I want to hear how Steve breaks all this down for us during this presentation. So I'll turn things over to Steve Brumbelow right now so that we can begin our educational webinar. Thanks for spending time with us today, Steve.
Thank you very much, Don, and also welcome everyone to today's presentation. Just to give some quick background about myself and the Dynamic Trend Company, we have been writing technical analysis software since 1989. Some of you might recognize the program Advanced Get. We were the original creators of that back in 1989, and we've been writing technical analysis software ever since. I've been with the company here along with Tom Joseph for approximately 22 years. And we still enjoy every day coming in and making software for traders to help them become better traders. That being said, I'm just going to go ahead and jump into the software, into what I'm going to talk about. The main tools that we're going to talk about are the ones really that are exceptional, that are stand out. They're tools that you just can't find everywhere out in the open. We also have some patent pending tools that I'm going to talk about today. But unfortunately, time restrictions, I'm not going to be able to talk about every single tool in the program. It is just feature packed with all kinds of different tools that a trader can use to analyze the market and take trades. If you guys have any questions that you have, I'm going to try my best to answer those questions in real time, so go ahead and type them into the chat window. But if I don't get to your question once everything is completed here and we get through this, I will definitely answer all those questions at the end for you. So go ahead and queue them up, and don't worry if I don't get to yours in real time. And also to let you know is we do have a special for today's webinar. For the software. I'll talk about that at the end, so I want to make sure that you're aware that that special will be available just for people that are attending today's webinar. So stick around and wait for that, and I'll explain what that is for you guys. So I think you'll like that. I'm going to go ahead and jump into the first tool that I want to talk about, and this is our latest tool. It's called the DT Options Volume Map. And essentially, what this tool is used for, and it is used to find opportunities in the marketplace, or turning points in the marketplace, identify them as quickly as possible using options volume. Okay, now what you're seeing on your screen here in the lower left-hand corner is basically a traditional option chain. This is our option chain inside of our application. In the middle, you see the normal strike prices for each of the expirations. On the left-hand side, you get the call information, and on the right-hand side, you get the put information. What we've done is we've taken this particular view and this information, and we've been able to overlay it as a study onto a chart. So you can see all of the option volume, the buying and the selling pressure, on the chart itself without having to stare at an option chain with a bunch of blinking numbers throughout the real-time trading day. So on the right here, we have the actual options volume map, and I have, as you can see, two different expirations on this screen. And this particular tool can be configured where you can see 3, 4, or 5 expirations. It's up to you, but for this example, I have two expirations on the screen. On the left-hand side of this particular option volume map for this expiration, this is the April expiration, or the March expiration, you can see here these are all the different strike prices that I've highlighted. And of course they correspond with the strike prices on the option chain. And they also correspond with this pricing scale themselves. So you can see the 162.50 lines up with the price of the 162.50. Inside this option volume map, we have two other sections, and this is what deals with the volume side of it. On the left-hand side, we have blue, and this is the options volume for each one of the individual strike prices, and then we have red side for the individual put volume. Now, in this particular view here, we can switch the options volume map to, instead of showing strike prices, we'll actually show you the volume at each individual strike price. And of course, they line up to the individual strikes inside the options chain themselves. Another thing we've added to this is the ability to get a total of the volume for the calls and a total of the volume for the puts. Okay, so this is the important information. This lets us identify option volume imbalance. Okay, when you're deciding on whether or not you're going to take a trade in a certain direction, it is important to understand where the actual volume, the direction that all the traders are trying to move into. And normally you can go to an option chain and dig through some of those numbers and kind of do the math yourself. But what we've done is we've auto-calculated that for you for the actual expirations that you want on the left-hand side with the total call volume and the total put volume. Then what we did is we gave you another number, which is the center number here that's a little bit purple, okay? And what that number is the difference between the two. And what that does is it gives us the ratio to determine where the imbalance is. Are we imbalanced biased to the call side? Are we imbalanced biased to the put side? So how do we use that? Well, what we've found through our research is that an imbalance ratio that's greater than 1.6 will identify potential major pivot lows or highs. So when a market is moving in a specific direction, and this is an example for IBM, and as you can see for the last couple of days here, IBM in this example has been moving lower. But on this particular day, we have an options imbalance of 6.4. Okay, that's a large imbalance to the call side, and it's colored blue to let you know that it's a call imbalance. Okay, so that gives us an indication that there's a lot of buying pressure that's happening, and this could be a potential low in the marketplace. Now, the way we confirm that imbalance is that we use a technique that if the market is the high of that particular bar is taken out, that helps confirm the imbalance to that call side for that. So ultimately, by putting the options volume map on a particular chart, seeing the imbalance number, whether it be to the call side or the put side, you can determine if we can take out a high or low. Are we looking at a pivot change? And has that been confirmed? And then once it has been, then you can then take a directional trade for that particular setup. Here's another example, and as you can see here, this is the IBM example. As you can see, the high was taken out, the buying pressure continued, and IBM went higher and moved higher. This next example here, which is Adobe, again, we had an options imbalance to the call side of 1.8. Okay, there's a lot of call volume happening. And so as long as that high is taken out, then the imbalance is then confirmed, and then directional trades can then be taken. And as you can see, that's what actually happened with this particular setup. Okay, so let's take a look at some real-time examples here. I'm going to go ahead and switch over to the program. And like I said, there's a lot of different tools inside of our application. We're just going to try to cover some of the main ones today. But I'm just going to pull up a chart here. And we're going to go ahead and put in the symbol BAC, Bank of America. Okay, and I automatically have a template set up so that the option volume map shows up. Hopefully everyone can see this clearly. Okay, and again, this is what it looks like right now for BAC. Very quickly, just by looking at this, I can tell you, without having to put an option chain up and doing all the different math, that there is a call imbalance of 7.2, as you can see here. Let me turn my crosshairs off for you. Of 7.2. So we have 43.2K on the call side total and just 6,000 on the put side. So right now in Bank of America, we have an options imbalance of 7.2. And like I said, 1.6 or higher gives us an indication that we could be looking at a potential pivot low in this particular setup. Now, the options volume map has a lot of other features in it too. I mean, when I say a lot of other features, there's a lot of different ways of looking at the options volume map. For instance, we're just looking right now at volume. I can easily switch this over by clicking once to open interest. Okay, so now I can see the open interest on the call side and the open interest on the put side. And at the very bottom, I have a historical view of the difference, the net difference of that for the last 5 days. So as you can see here, I have the last 5 days for the options volume map for this particular stock, which is Bank of America. And I can also change that if I wanted to see just the totals themselves for the last 5 days. It's just a historical view of the options volume map. Now, one of the nice things about this tool is that we're looking at it real time now on today's current bar, but I also have the ability to click on it and drag it back to any day in the past. Okay, so here is yesterday's information as of the close, all of the price and the volume of that particular bar, and I can drag it anywhere into the past for that to see that particular information, or just bring it to the future itself, or not the future, but the current bar, the current real-time bar. Let's look at another example here. Let's take a look at Tesla. And I'll kind of zoom into this a little bit here for you so you can see it a little bit easier. So here's Tesla. Tesla's set up in the same type of way. We have a call imbalance of 2.9 on those options. So that also gives us indication that the buying pressure that's happened is also continuing for this particular stock. And again, you can drag it back to a previous day or any day in the past to get to see what the actual volume numbers were for that particular day. Now, I'll go back to Bank of America. One of the nice things too about our program, and I'm probably going to repeat this many times through today's presentation, one of the nice things about our program is the concept where anywhere you're in the program, whether you're on a spread, an option, a chart, a scanner, a spread builder, anywhere you're at, you can right-click and trade directly from the application. So for instance here, if for whatever reason I want to take a directional trade in Bank of America, I can right-click very quickly and populate a trade ticket for that particular strike and that particular expiration. That's the 420 expiration. Here's my trade ticket. I can then select my order type, whether it be market, or for instance, maybe I want to do the midpoint. I can click the midpoint and it'll automatically change to a limit midpoint. Click the trade button, confirm what I want to do, submit order, and it will automatically take the trade. Now I did see a question pop by here. Is this inside of TradeStation? The Dynamic Trend platform is an external application to TradeStation. It is a standalone. It requires you to have TradeStation installed. So let's go here now to the next example, and this is another example of way we can use this. I just talked about directional trading. Let's talk about earnings. The options volume map is also a great tool to use for earnings, okay? The options imbalance is something that we can monitor coming up to an earnings date to determine if we're, say for instance, going to do some straddles or strangles. And we want to see where our bias is on those strangles and strangles. Do we want to be directionally in a call mode or in a put mode for a particular type of earnings? So for instance here, this is Red Hat. And as you can see, we have a right before earnings, we have a 6.9 imbalance to the call side for this particular stock, the underlying stock. So as this earnings date, which is that particular, the next day, we can determine, hey, if I'm doing a straddle or strangle, maybe my bias towards the imbalance direction makes more sense in this case. And as you can see here, we can go ahead and go over to Red Hat. I'll pull up that chart. As you can see, and I'll just put my cursor here, this was the day that we put it on. And this was the earnings day. And as you can tell here, you'd have to zoom in and look at the pricing. It actually opened at 165. So if we drag this back here, that's what the option volume map looked like. And then the next day gave us that opening up to 165. Okay, so that's the options volume map. There's a lot more to this, which I can't really show you in today. We could go on probably for at least an hour with the options volume map, but we do have education on our website at dynamictrend.com, videos that you can look at that will actually go through each of these individual features in much more detail, where you can see all the settings and everything in the application itself. So let's take a look at our next feature that I want to look at, and that is our risk graph. This is our advanced risk graph. Now, we have a lot of different features inside of this risk graph. The risk graph provides several modeling methods to determine risk and reward. Not only can you look at a risk profile at expiration, but you can also model out based on time to expiration and volatility. It can be used to compare spreads. So you can put up multiple spreads and compare between them to determine which one is going to give you best risk to reward. You can load existing positions. So say you have 3 or 4 Apple trades and you want to load that into your risk graph to determine, where is your risk profile? Are you protected on the upside or on the downside? Those types of things. I'll show you how we can do that a little bit later. You can perform what if scenarios to repair. And I want to show you a repair strategy here towards the end, where we can put in an actual position that we have and determine, hey, if Apple goes really bad, how do I protect that on the downside? What does that look like? And so we'll go through that. You can view the effects of delta or theta on your entire positions. Or you could just chart side by side along with the risk graph. And I'll show you how we can do that here in a second. So let's go ahead and jump over to the risk graph. Close this out. And yes, John R., we will show that on a current position. That is correct. I'll get that here in a little bit. So we're going to go ahead and open up our risk graph, and I just want to go over what it how the screen kind of looks here. right? There's a lot going on this particular screen. At the very top, this is our spread area. This is where you would build a spread. You can manually build a spread, or you can automatically build a spread. We have support up to 30 plus different spread types. So if you want to, do an iron condor, we'll automatically build an at-the-money iron condor, and then you can edit it right from there. Or you can send a spread that you're already in from your account position window and send that directly to the risk graph, and it'll automatically build there for you. So that's our spread section at the top. In the middle is the risk profile, and the middle white line is pretty much the current price. Where now it's closed, but 152.09 for Red Hat. I'll put an IBM here. More people are more familiar with IBM. So 154.03. The blue solid line is the actual spread, and this one is just a long call. It's buying an April 20th 152 call. This is at expiration. The green area gives us our profit. The red area gives us our losses. The dotted line that you see here is one of the models that's turned on by default. As you can see here at the bottom, I have up to 3 different models that I can add, and in these models I can adjust the days to expiration, or I can adjust the volatility for that model. So I can determine 5 days or 10 days before expiration, if I have a big increase in volatility, how does that look in my risk graph? So I can do that right from here. So that's our modeling. We also allow you, like I said, let's say for instance I change this over to a straddle. Okay, I can go chart side by side with my risk profile. So I can determine, based on this particular straddle, if this stock were to move up higher, where it needs to go to become profitable, and if it were to go lower, where it needs to go to be profitable, and do some analysis on the chart with my risk profile side by side. And again, I can easily make any adjustments to that particular spread and see that automatically update in real time. Or if I'm building this spread by scratch and I like it and I want to take this particular trade, all I need to do is right click anywhere on the top here at the spread, populate a trade ticket. Here's my trade ticket. It'll fill in all the information based on this up here. And then I can either take the trade immediately, adjust to a particular limit order, click one button, and we're off and running and ready to go. That's how quick it is from analysis to trade. And that's what we focus in on this program, is to get you to the trade side of it as quickly as possible so that you can spend more time with the analysis. Okay, so now what I want to do is show you a really interesting feature of the application and of the risk graph itself, and it has to do with, I'm going to switch my spread over here to a long stock, or let's do a long call, okay? What I'm going to do is I'm going to do a combination of a compare spread. I want to compare whether I should take a long call, or maybe I want to do a bull call spread for this particular underlying symbol. So what I can do is click the compare spread button, switch over and add a bull call spread. And now you can see on the risk graph, the blue line, which is my original spread, that's the long call here at the very top. And then the orange line, which is that bull call spread on the same risk graph. So I can start doing comparisons where I'm going to be profitable. Where is my max risk? Which one of these two makes sense? And obviously we're looking at this, the bull call spread will get profitable a little earlier, but obviously it limits its amount of profit that you'll ever get. So the actual call itself is going to have an unlimited amount of profit potential, but the initial risk is going to be a little bit larger. So again, I'm not saying that you should take either or which one's better, but this gives you the ability to do that. And you can add as many of these as you want. So for instance, I'll go to another bullish strategy. We'll just do I'm just going to randomly grab a put ratio spread. And so I can click between them to determine which one that I like. And again, any one of them, I can right click and populate a trade ticket. So it's a very, very powerful tool to be able to determine which of two spreads you think is better. And any one of these spreads, we build them for you automatically. You can edit and change expiration months. strike prices, puts or calls, the way it's calculated based on the midpoint or a filled price, or you can put in a filled price. And if you send this from the account window, which I'll show you here in a little bit, it'll automatically enter that fill price in for you. All right, so now what I want to do is kind of show you that. How would we repair a particular strategy using this compare spread mode? So I'm going to go back here. I'm just actually, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and close this out, the risk graph out, and I'm going to open up our account window. Okay, our account window, and I'll make it bigger here for you. This account window is set up into 4 different sections. The top section here, these are all of your open orders. The middle section are all of your positions. At bottom section here are your messages. And at the very upper top right, which you can expand or contract, is your account information. And of course, this is a test account here. And then underneath that, we have a pie chart, which basically has your sectors weighted by value, depending on what your actual positions are. And it'll let you know that. For this particular test account, we're in financial and technology. All of these particular areas can be expanded. So if you just want to see positions, you can just expand the positions. Or just orders, so you can just have an order window up. It's completely up to you. But what I'm going to do and show you is how would I repair a position on Apple? What if I wanted to see a net effect of my entire, if Apple moves up or down, I want to see the net effect of all of my Apple options positions. What I can do is I can click on each, and I have 3 of them here. I can click on all 3 of these, okay, these individual options, right click on them, and then send them to my risk graph. Okay, so here's my risk graph. I'll again make this bigger for you. So here is the actual risk profile for those 3 positions with the fill prices already added. Okay, and I'll turn my model off so we don't have too many lines on here. But the blue line is at expiration. So as Apple increases in price, this is where, in this area here, where we believe we're going to become profitable, okay, at expiration. The problem we're seeing with this is that this all looks great and Apple's been moving up. What if Apple actually starts to move down and maybe moves down pretty quickly? How do we protect this position? How do I protect my overall position in Apple? Well, what I can do is I can come up here to my compare spreads. I can click this button here, which is copy the primary spread. Okay, so we basically have a duplicate of the one at the top. And then what I can do is I can say, well, to protect this on the bottom side, why don't we go ahead and buy and see if what we simulate, of course the risk graph is a simulation, simulate buying a put. So I'm going to click the edit of the compare spread, and I'm going to add a new leg, and I'm going to go ahead and buy one April 20th, and let's go down here to the 170 put, and then click OK. And right here, we'll go ahead and put that at the mid price. Okay, now, as you can see, this is what my risk profile looks like. So as Apple moves up, in this area here, we're going to become profitable. But if we come down to this area, the 160 level, we're protected on that side if the Apple continues to move lower. And if you look in closer, I'll zoom in. If you look in closer, the blue line is our original position. That's our position that we have. The orange line is the modified position. We're only giving up about $1 here in profits to be able to protect ourselves on the bottom side. And we did that very simply just by adding that to our compare spread. Okay, so now all we need to do is just put an order on for an April 20 170 put, and that will help protect our overall net position on Apple for this. Now, another really good thing or interesting thing that we can do with this, and I'll go back to just the single spread, this is our position, is the ability to add delta and theta, net delta and net theta to this particular position. And so one of the ways I can do that is just right-click on the risk graph and click on delta, and here you go. Now you can see the net delta for this particular position, or I can switch it over to theta. and see the theta for that. And again, adjust the modeling for that days to expiration or add or remove volatility. So hopefully that answers one of the questions that went by. They're kind of going by pretty quick here, so I'm sorry if I'm missing them. I'm going to go back and read all these as much as I possibly can here. So, all right, so let's move on to the next one, the next feature that I want to talk about, and that's our strategy builder. The Dynamic Trend Strategy Builder is basically a tool that gives you the ability to enter in a couple of pieces of information, a target price for a stock, and a target date for a stock, and it will automatically build you strategies, either bullish or bearish or neutral, depending on your actual target price themselves. And not only will it build the actual spreads themselves, it will tell you what they are, so you can trade right from the strategy builder, but it will also give you your risk, your ROI at expiration, and your profit and loss at the target itself. So those are automatically calculated for you so you can determine what you want to do. Let's go ahead and take a look at one in real time. So we just open up our strategy builder, and I'll show you how you can manually enter this in and how you can automatically send an actual strategy or an actual price to the strategy builder from your chart analysis. So I have IBM in my symbol list right here. What if I think IBM right now closed today at 154.03. What if I think IBM is going to go to 165? So I'll put in 165. And I think it's going to get to 165 by, instead of April, we're going to say by March or May 24th. Okay? All I do is click go, and it will automatically build those bullish strategies for me. And I can click through them, and it will adjust the risk graph so I can see what to do. And again, like I said, the ROI is automatically calculated, the return on your investment, and the profit and loss at target for you. And again, if you find something that you like right off the bat and you say you want to click on it, you can populate the trade ticket and immediately start your trade. That quick, right from analysis to trade. Now, how do we do this from the chart? Well, this is probably one of the fun things that I like to do, especially when I'm spending a lot of time inside of charts, is immediately go to the strategy builder from the chart. Let's go ahead and pull up a chart here. I'm just going to set something up for you guys. I'm going to go ahead and, for right now, we're going to remove the options volume map, and I'm going to put on another tool that we have, which is called the Elliott Wave Turning Points. Let me go ahead and add that for you. I'm going to put on a symbol here, grub. And essentially, the Elliott Wave Turning Points is another proprietary study that we've just developed, which is built around Elliott waves and finding tradable moments in the marketplace. Now, you don't have to be an Elliottian to know Elliott Wave Turning Points. You just need to know that to turn them on and put them on, and we do all the calculations for you. But we give you tradable pivot points in the marketplace, potential pivot points in the marketplace, where then you can take trades. And what it does is the last trade will always give you the area of entry. For instance, when we identify that pivot, an entry area and a potential target area. And the target area is not only based on price, but it's also based on time. So what we can do with the strategy builder is if we have an Elliott Wave Turning Point potential strategy, we can come up here at the very end, and I'll just use the end based on time. And as you can see here, the cursor at the very bottom, it's impossible for me to move this down here perfectly. The date on this is 5/11, okay? That's May 11th. So, and the price that I'm looking at, where my cursor is 118.05 roughly. And so assuming I don't move my mouse, I can right click. I can then go right to the strategy builder, and based on the time and the price that I just clicked on, it will automatically build target price of 117.96. Yep, I moved my mouse, with a target date of 5/12/18. And it will automatically build spreads for that. Okay, now One of the nice things about the Elliott wave turning points is that we have a tool inside the application that will give us the ability to search for these. So instead of typing a bunch of different symbols in and hope to find a turning point in the marketplace, you can actually search for these particular turning points. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and group this chart, since I already have the turning points on, to the yellow color. I'm going to go into my matrix. Our matrix is our scanner. This is a real-time scanner, which allows you to scan the market for all kinds of different types of technical analysis, breakouts, candlesticks, options, all kinds of different things. And one of the things that I'm going to do is I'm going to try scan for, in this particular example, I'm going to scan for stocks with I lost my place there. Stocks with Elliott wave turning points. And so we're going to go ahead into my additional filters, click the DT EWTP, turn on my Elliott wave turning points. That's simple. Click the scan button, and now it's going to give me a list. And I don't have a whole lot of screen real estate here to show you, but it's a pretty big list of symbols that meet that Elliott wave turning point, looking for daily up direction current bars with a medium-term trend. Okay. Again, we're talking things right now that you might not understand. We have plenty of education on our website with videos that actually go through what the Elliott wave turning points mean and what a medium term is, which is basically a trade that's set up for 30 to 35 bars. Okay, and so you can see here I have a whole bunch. Now I'm going to group this matrix window, the scanner window, into that yellow color. Come over here and I'm going to tile these screens vertically so I can see not only my chart, but my matrix. And I'm just going to click on a symbol. Here's Netflix. Okay, so Netflix, I'm going to go ahead. As you can see, I can instantaneously see that I have an Elliott wave turning point, a target. I can right click on that target level, go immediately to the strategy builder. Here's a list of potential trades that I can either right click and go to my risk graph to do some further analysis, or I can just go right to the trade ticket and populate that trade ticket with that particular spread. Now, one more thing here that we can do with our chart that deals with that particular options tool is the options replay. And again, this is another proprietary tool that you won't find anywhere else. It allows us to go back in time to do a what-if scenario. What if we took a particular long call or, say, a straddle or strangle trade? So it's a study that we have in our chart. And again, it's called Options Replay. Okay, and I'll just set it here to default. And as you can see, I'll try to zoom in for you guys. As you can see, we have an Elliott wave turning point here on this particular date. Okay, and I can click on it and it'll give me that entry level and those target levels. Okay, I can move my Options Replay tool back to that specific date, okay, on that turning point, and that will basically buy a Netflix March 16th, 2018 225 call. And this is what the profit would be for that particular trade. What if I went ahead and right clicked on this and changed that from a long call? What if I were to do a straddle, a long straddle in that area? Click OK. Again, there's my profit and loss for that particular trade on that particular day. So the options replay really gives us that, you know, what if scenario. What if I would have taken a trade? And you can do it on earnings. You can do it on pivot points. You can do it anywhere. You can slide that anywhere back in time, and it will do that for you. And then, of course, you can always make changes to it, adjust the spread, adjust fill prices, those types of things, and it will automatically calculate that profit and loss for you on that particular day. All right, so that is the strategy builder. Now, the next one I want to take a look at is our projection tool. So let's switch over here to my PowerPoint and talk a little bit about our options projection. Our options projection tool is a different way to look at a risk profile for a particular options strategy. Okay, we're all used to risk graphs and how risk graphs look. The problem with risk graphs is that it's at expiration. We're doing all these volatility adjustments, and it's adjusting it for at expiration. What the options projection tool allows you to do is to adjust volatility and price every single day from now until expiration. And I'm going to show you how we can actually do that here. So let's, again, jump back into the program. Because of course, that's where all the fun is here. So we're going to click our projection tool. Okay, and I'm just going to put in we'll put in another stock. We'll put in NVIDIA. All right, I'll try to make this bigger for you. Options projection tool. So 3 sections we need to worry about, technically 4. The top one is the spread itself. And right here, this is just a long call, at the money long call on NVIDIA. The next section below it, this next pane that you see here, is the actual value of the option spread. Okay? Anything on the left in this gray area is considered to be historical. Anything to the right in this black area is considered to be out until expiration. And this very edge right here, this is the 420 date, if you can look at the lower cursor there. Okay? That's the actual value. Okay? The next pane that you see here is the prices for NVIDIA. This is the historical daily chart, basically, that you're seeing. Anything to the right here is out into the future. And as you can see, it's flatlined at today's current close, which is 221.02. All right? The next pane, the lowest pane, is the volatility. Anything to the left is this is a hard one to say. It is the historical implied volatility, not historical volatility, historical implied volatility for this particular spread. And then, of course, going out into the future, the ability to model that volatility. Now, if all else holds true here, and NVIDIA were to trade literally at 221 all the way to expiration, you would lose money on this particular trade, right? We're in the red. This is proof that theta has an effect on your trade, right? So as we know, we're technical analysis and we think NVIDIA is going to go up, we can then make an adjustment at expiration and say, well, if NVIDIA moves up to 252, well, there you go. Now we're profitable, okay? Now you'll notice on this particular area that I'm moving this particular price is there's 2 different colors here. There's a purple cone and a yellow line. And I'm not talking about my crosshairs. This yellow line here is what we call the profit and loss line. Okay? It lets me know that if I drag this particular price up or down at expiration, as long as I'm above that, I'm profitable. If I'm below that, I'm not. And it will calculate this for any type of spread. Iron condor, straddle, strangles, whatever spread you want to put in here, it'll automatically calculate it for you. And I'll show you a straddle here in a second. But the nice thing about this tool is, other than the standard risk graph, is that I can actually model that price anytime between now and expiration. And not only can I model the price, but I can also model the volatility between now and expiration to determine how that actually affects my specific spread. Let's change this to a different spread. Let's change this to a straddle. Let's do a long straddle on this. Now, again, as you see, the straddle itself has 2 areas of profit and loss, right? It can go up and become profitable, and it can go down and be profitable. And so, as you can see here, I can make those adjustments above and below to see if and where I need to be profitable, not only at expiration, but before expiration. Because as options traders, we don't always hold an option all the way till expiration. So that's why this particular tool is so helpful for us. Now, that's the profit and loss line. The purple is a probability cone. Okay, and so if you're used to using probability cones, we just put this on here for you so you can see where those standard deviations are. And that way you can, you don't, when you're modeling things out, you wouldn't go way, way above outside of a standard deviation, obviously. So that's why we put that on there for you. Now, another thing with the volatility that you can do is not only can I make an adjustment to a multi-leg spread for the overall volatility, I can actually right-click and edit the spreads separately. So now, as you can see, the blue line represents up here at the top, the blue call, and the kind of mustardy color, orange color here, brown, I don't know what the color that is the put for this particular straddle. So I can even adjust and say, well, what if the call volatility moves up and the put volatility moves down at any point? So you can adjust the individual legs. And of course, this particular thing will also work if you're using an iron condor, 4 legs, 2 legs, 1 leg. It doesn't make a difference. So it's a nice tool to be able to model these things out, especially if you don't plan on staying in that particular spread all the way to the expiration day. It allows you to model that very visually. All right, so let's look at another tool here. The other tool that I want to talk about is our option chain tool, because there's some really great tools inside of our option chain that I want you to be aware of, okay? The first thing is well, I'll switch this back over here to IBM. Now we'll go to Apple. Okay, so the first thing that I want to show you is that we have a spread builder inside of our option chain, just like we have everywhere else. And you can click instantaneously on that spread and take that trade right from the option chain itself. You can just populate the trade ticket, click trade, and you're off and running. But you can also manually build spreads, and let me show you how to do that. I'm going to just clear this out. All right, so we have a blank spread here, and all I need to do is, let's say for instance I want to do a straddle on this Apple. Okay, for whatever reason, I'm just making this up right now. All I need to do is click on the ask for the call, and we're going to do a 172.50. I just click on the ask on the call side, and then come over to the ask for the put side, and boom, I have a straddle built. And then I can right click, populate the trade ticket, click the trade button if I want to go market, and I'm ready to trade. If I want to do a mid price, I can click that. It'll switch it automatically to a limit. I can adjust the limit up and down. Again, click the trade price, and we're ready to go. That's how quick it can be to go from analysis to actually taking the trade. And I don't have to just sit there at one contract. I can then add more contracts if I wanted to, just by keep clicking on the ask price. So if I want to do 3 contracts, I can do that. Or I can just right click, populate the trade ticket, and then make the adjustment there. So if I want to go up to say 15 contracts, I can do it right from there and make those changes. Last thing that I want to show you about the option chain is our look back feature. A lot of our stuff, a lot of the things that we do has to do with analysis, going back in time and testing things out, right? What if I wanted to know what the actual option chain close was for Apple, say 4, 5, 6, 7 days ago? Well, I can click my look back, go back in time here. We'll just go back to March 22nd, I guess. And it will then bring in the historical view at the end of the day, giving me all the bid-ask last prices, the implied volatilities, the open interest, all of the Greeks that were calculated, the probabilities of in the money and breaking even, all from that particular day. And we actually go back to 2011 for most symbols for this history. So you can go back pretty far if you want to see how something actually traded back in the future. That sounded strange. Back in the past. So I'll click current here. But again, the option chain, very powerful tool. You can directly trade right from it. I could ignore this particular strategy up here. I could just say, well, I want to do a 177.50 put. I can just right click and populate it, and it'll automatically populate that put for me. Or again, if I build the spread, I can right click on the spread and immediately populate that trade ticket for this particular spread. Everywhere you're at inside this program, whether you're in the matrix, here's a scanner. Let's just say, for instance, I want to, I will take a look at, remember the options volume map we talked about at the very beginning? Let's take a look at how we could find potential opportunities for the option volume map using this scanner. This is very easy. Well, let's go ahead and put up a chart. I'm going to tile these vertically, so I have a chart and a scanner side by side, and then I can click the grouping button. We'll group it to yellow. So when I click on any of these symbols, it'll automatically go to the chart. Then all I need to do is come down here to the top option scan, and I'm looking for stocks with top option volume, right? That's what the option volume map helps us do. So I can come in here and click on, for instance, Apple. Here's Apple. Here's my options volume map for that. I know it's a top option scan, and I have a volume imbalance of 1.7. on today's current bar. And as you can see, there's more, and that options volume imbalance is onto the call side because it's blue. So you can quickly do this. If you were to say this was real-time information, we're after market hours now. If there was a specific one that you wanted to jump on, you could right-click on that particular call side, click buy to open. You're immediately populating the trade ticket, and then you can click trade and then submit order. So it's very quick to get from the analysis side of it all the way to the trade side of it. It's designed so that we don't have to spend too many clicks to get to where we need to. Spend more time with the analysis and less time worrying about the actual trade side of it. Again, there are so many other tools in this program that I'd love to talk about, but I don't want to run out of time. I want to give you guys some time to ask some questions for this. I want to get through the special that we're having now with this particular product. Again, like I said earlier, this question's been asked a couple times. This is a standalone program that works with the TradeStation applications. The requirements is TradeStation 10.0. We work alongside of it. It's not built into it, but it will then receive the data from it, and it will trade directly through that your trading account. Normally, this particular price for the software is $245 a month. For TradeStation users, we offer it at $179 per month, and this is a reoccurring subscription. The special offer is that if your monthly trading commissions meet or exceed $300, TradeStation will credit your trading account the $179. Today's special, though, that's the ongoing special. Today's special for you guys, since you showed up at today's webinar, is that for the next 2 days, between now and midnight Friday tomorrow, we will offer you a 1-month trial. Your first month will be free. So all you need to do is to go to the dynamictrend.com or to the TradeStation site for dynamictrend.com. Someone, I'm sure, will put it in the chat window for you. Follow that link, click the subscribe now. That'll take you to, obviously, the order window here where you can then fill in the information. Download the software. You'll receive an email. Download the software. It will take about anywhere from a couple hours to a full day to get your TradeStation entitled for the Dynamic Trend application. You'll get a confirmation email, and you'll be up and running. You'll be able to log right into the Dynamic Trend platform, use all of the tools that we have here, and then take trades directly from the application with the account window, the Elliott Wave turning points, the option volume app, all those tools, the real-time scanning will all be available to you. So what I'm going to do is because I pretty much missed almost every single question because they were kind of going through pretty quick, and I realized that I was running a little bit short on time here. What I want to do is kind of go back and answer some of these questions here. So one of the questions that I have, and I'll just clear this screen out, looks like we have, let me scroll up here if you just give me one quick moment. And again, thank you everyone for stopping by. I mean, and putting up with my presentation. Hopefully I was able to give you some really good information about our application and what we can do for you as a trader. Okay, so is this useful for trading the different ETFs? And the answer is absolutely, absolutely. Stocks, futures, and options, absolutely. The options tools will work for those, obviously, and the Elliott Wave turning points, the scanners, those types of things. Yes, absolutely, Michael S. for that question. The question here, does this replace OptionStation Pro? It works side by side with it. You can run both of them at the same time. The TradeStation application can run along with the Dynamic Trend application at the same time. If you want to run Dynamic Trend by itself, you can also do that, but definitely you can run TradeStation side by side with this application. John R., hopefully I answered your IV question by showing you that yes, we do have IV. We have historical IV in the option chain. We also calculate what's called a continuous implied volatility, where we take an average of the IVs for the underlying and display it on the chart. Just to kind of show you what that looks like really quick, we have a tool here called the volatility range. And essentially what this does is it takes a look at that continuous implied volatility for the calls and puts. It's an average, a weighted average of that IV, and gives you a 90-day range, which is the gray area. And so you can see where the current existing implied volatility is, right? This is the blue line, and where it is in the overall range, which is the gray area. And this is, like I said, a 90-day range that you can adjust if you want. And so you can see is something in the lower end of the range, meaning IVs are on the lower side. Maybe you're looking for inexpensive options, or is it on the higher side? Maybe you're looking for credit spreads, and so you want to find stock that has very high implied volatility. So that's kind of how that looks like. So yes, we have both of those. And so Gary, yes, we have all kinds of different scanners for it. Our scanners are very granular. As a matter of fact, here I'll pull up the matrix window. Not only can you scan for the underlying symbol with all these different tools, but you can actually switch it over to the option symbols. So I can actually come in here and say, just show me some options that have a certain min-max price, minimum average volume, days to expiration, implied volatility, delta, all these things. And I can micromanage them to be calls or puts. So I can look for an underlying setup. Say you're looking for inexpensive options or a 50-week breakout. And just show me the options for that particular that meet your criteria. So our scanner is very, very in-depth as far as what you're looking for. Okay. John, also the other question here about the other application, it is the same. Trying to get through these questions. I apologize. I'm reading as fast as I can. Sharon's asking about Fibonacci tools. Absolutely. I'll pull up our chart here. We have Fibonacci retracements and Fibonacci extension tools. And again, you can add your Fibonacci numbers, change them to whatever your liking is. But yes, so we do have Fibonacci retracements and Fibonacci extensions for this particular. We have drawing tools, so you can draw lines. We have speed and resistance lines. You can put text on charts. You can have different chart types. The customization of this program is quite in depth. I mean, like I said, we've been writing technical analysis software since 1989. We're traders ourselves, therefore we've built this tool really to be as easy as it possibly can for traders. So be able to customize this as much as possible. We have a dark theme, we have a light theme. You could change the theme however you want. You could set up templates, change every particular color that you possibly could want to have inside the program. For instance, here's a different type of view of a chart. Hopefully I didn't blind anyone by doing that too dark. But I mean, there's all kinds of customization that you can do inside the application for not only just the chart itself, but the scanners and the other tools themselves, and be able to save templates so you don't have to constantly keep changing it every time you put a new one in. Colin is asking a question about training. We do a weekly webinar for you guys. Every Tuesday at 4 o'clock, we have a webinar that you can freely jump into, and you'd be live with either Tom Joseph or myself or Marcus Reinhardt, and we basically will answer any of your questions, go over some of the education for the actual the tools themselves, and again, just we're there for education. We also have online web help that's constantly updated, and videos for each one of the features, so that we're always producing new videos. As questions always come in from customers, we determine, hey, that seems to be something we need to focus more on, and we will update videos for that. Stephen's asking about the working in the simulator without the subscription. The subscription is required, unfortunately. It did not, John, the price for that, I apologize, the price is the regular price that we charge for the software, but there is a special pricing for TradeStation users. It's the $179 per month. And again, like I said, today, the special is we'll give you the first 30 days for free, the first month for free. Fundamental analysis. Now, most of the stuff that we do is based on technical analysis, so there's no fundamental information in this application. John, if you follow the link through the TradeStation, the TradeStation promo site, that will be the 179 with the free. You'll also see that with the free. As a matter of fact, I'll bring over, if I can find my web browser in this. This is the actual site that you will get to from that promo, and you'll see that the special offer is there, and then you would just click the subscribe now, and it would have all that information on there. Sharon's asking a question: how long have we provided the service? We've been obviously writing technical analysis software in different forms since 1989. As far as this particular product, we've been producing this dynamic trend for TradeStation. This is just released right now for TradeStation, but it's been available for several years. Yeah, Lawrence, you're asking a question about saving trades. We have a system in our called saving pages. That's layout. Some companies call them layouts or templates. We have what's called pages. So when you have, for instance, so I'll put up a risk graph, I guess, and maybe we'll do a matrix and an option chain. And I'll just tile these vertically. Let's just say, for instance, this is your layout that you like to set up. You can always come in here and say File and Save Page As, and any of the settings that you have here, whether it's a spread that you set up, an option chain that you set up, a specific scan that you set up, when you save that page, all you do is go to File, Open Page, and it'll bring it all back. So you can have different types of setups. You can have quote sheets, quote boards, custom lists, all those types of things, and you can just save that as a page, and then it'll come back for you when you go to File, Open Page.
They have to go.
Okay, so the question here is, do you have analysis for sectors? We do. Again, I don't want to get too in-depth on here, but we do have what's called a group and sector analysis that allows you to go into specific groups and sectors to find strength or weakness. And you can actually see that information on a chart. So for instance, we can come in here with this particular Apple chart, add a study which is called DT group. And I can either change it to the symbol, the group, or the sector. So we'll just put the group here and click apply, and then it will give you strength values for that particular group, historical strength values along with current strength values. So you can see how that overall group for Apple, which is the computer hardware, is so the question here, can you put notes on a trade? Absolutely. Yeah, we have a full text tool that allows you to type whatever you want. I'm just going to put that in there. And so yes, you can put notes on a trade, on a chart, put as many of those notes on there as you want. Absolutely. Yes, futures trading is also supported. Obviously, the options tools, we don't do futures options as of right now. We'll be adding that here future, but it's in the future. But as far as analyzing the futures, using the LOE turning points and the analysis in the chart themselves, actually trading it, then yes, that is supported. Does this work on Apple? Well, I have Apple right here on the screen. No, I'm just kidding. I understand the question. The answer is it's not something that we absolutely support, because obviously it's not a native Apple application, but if you're using VMware Fusion or Parallels, yes, it does function. As a matter of fact, I run VMware Fusion on my MacBook Pro. That's my primary travel computer, and yes, this program works perfectly fine on it. But it is not a native Apple application, so you would require a VMware Fusion or a Parallels or Boot Camp if you're using Boot Camp. So if you follow that link, just to go back to the original question here with John is having problems, if you follow that TradeStation link, the tradestation.com promo dynamic trend, that will take you to the promo pricing themselves. Yeah, inside the software itself, we also have skew charts. So if you guys are doing volatility skews, looking for smiles or frowns, not only can we scan for smiles or frowns, we can actually plot that out for you. So you can see that in a 2D view, and you can see either the strike or the time skew itself if you're a skew trader. We have spread builders where you can build specific types of spreads based on obviously the expiration dates, the starting strikes, and you can just keep adding more strikes, that type of thing. So we have spread builders inside the application. We've obviously an elementary quote sheet. It's just a quote sheet where you can type in a bunch of symbols and it'll quote it for you, and obviously you can customize that with different fields, those types of things, different things inside the application. So we have lots of different tools inside of the application. We have a standalone trade ticket, so if you just want to build a specific trade, we support the equities, the options, the multi-leg, and the combos. So if you want to build an equity trade, if you just want to trade IBM, you can click IBM, put in the price, limit price, or if you want to go market, click trade, and you're off and running. Submit order, and that'll submit that order from TradeStation.